What is up, YouTube? This is Tristakov. So, knowing what I do now, 7 years after graduation, would I go to art school again? I usually treat most of this type of video like a podcast, so I'm going to play a little time-lapse of a drawing I was working on recently and explain my thoughts on the topic. The short answer? Yes, I would go to art school again. I would go to the New England Institute of Art all over again. Maybe not now, but back in 2007, I'd choose to do it again, even knowing what I do now. The caveat is that that's a personal decision on my part. I really wanted to graduate college, and that's a personal goal of mine, whether or not it was an art school. But having a strong interest in drawing and wanting to go into a creative field, graduating from art school seemed like a good way to kill two birds with one stone. Now, would I recommend that same choice for other people, having gone through art school, graduated, and worked in the creative field for 7 years now? This answer is much less cut and dry, because it really depends on what you want to get out of your art school experience, what resources you have at your disposal, how serious you are about this commitment, and if you have specific goals in mind. Based on what I saw of a lot of my fellow students while I was in school, it's a really bad idea to go to art school if you do not know what you want to do as far as your career, or if you aren't really sure what media or what field you're most interested in pursuing, either as a hobby or as a career. If you just want to go for general creativity and general arts kind of stuff, you're probably going to be wasting your time and money, and it's not going to help you as much as just going to community college art courses, taking individual art classes, doing various things to figure out what you want to do before you even consider going into art school. Because I saw a lot of other kids there. They like to draw, maybe they like to watch cartoons, thought they might like to be animators, draw comic books, variety of things. I was in an animation major, but it did cover fine art drawing and drawing fundamentals before moving into traditional pencil and paper animation, flash animation, and later 3D animation and editing. But there were a lot of kids that they didn't know what they wanted to do, they just wanted to do something creative. And because of that, a lot of them seemed to lack focus and lack a clear goal with where they wanted to go and what they wanted to get out of their education. That isn't to say I had a crystal clear image of what I wanted to do. I did know I wanted to work in animation for television, film, or video game animation, or art in general. And that's why I picked the New England Institute of Art and the Media Arts and Animation major, specifically because it wasn't fine art focused and covered a wide range of types of animation and types of software in addition to traditional art skills. So I figured it would be very versatile with whatever jobs I could find. For one, I'm looking for jobs in the Boston area, so there are numerous little indie companies and some larger studios and agencies. So I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted, but I had a rough idea, and I wanted to produce a consistent, high-quality demo reel so that I'd be able to apply to these places, as well as develop my own personal style and my own setting and characters, which have now become the Avania comic project. As a side note, I'm drawing one of the characters for Avania right now. But what was a bit sad and frustrating was that there were a lot of people in my classes who were quite talented. They were good at drawing, they had interesting original characters that they'd work on, but they didn't have the same drive and motivation to get work done and take their classes seriously. And unfortunately, NEIA being a for-profit school, they were completely willing to just take these people's money and let them keep going. Whether or not they passed the classes, whether or not they were making progress with their skills, the school would just keep taking their money, and if they failed, they failed, but they wouldn't get kicked out or lose their eligibility for loans, which, as many people, including myself, know all too well, can mount up quite quickly. I had loans covering my tuition and my housing and meal plan. And looking back, I wish I had been more cognizant of just how much money everything cost and how much those loans would be upon graduation. Because in spite of having a freshman seminar class and classes orienting you on getting a job and preparing your portfolio and internships and all that, nothing really covers, okay, you're going to have this big expense that's due as soon as you graduate, and you're going to need to pay that down if you want to regain a positive net worth. Fortunately, I did get a job pretty quickly after I graduated. It was very low paying, but it was an art job, and I worked another one after that, and then got a great opportunity, which is where I still am, and that was through someone I worked with at the first crappy job that I had after school. So that all worked out, and I was able to pay off all of my loans completely within 5 years and start saving, building up retirement funds, all that, living quite reasonably, which is where I am now. But for all those people that dithered around and either took a long time to graduate or didn't even end up graduating, or people that changed their major and had to start taking different courses and taking more than 4 years, or in my case it was 3 years because the school ran in trimesters, so you pretty much went to school all year round, but it was a 4-year degree, Bachelor of Science in Animation. But to say nothing of the people that didn't end up graduating, so they don't even have a degree, they didn't finish their training, if you will, and now they have to figure something else out with all of that debt that they incurred by taking classes they only get half of the benefit from. So to make a really long story short, don't go to art school unless you are motivated and you have a goal, because you really want to get through there, at least get your degree. Hopefully your experience there is a good one like mine was. You have useful classes and good teachers. There's a lot of interesting stuff there, but that kind of thing is still something you can get from individual classes. You don't necessarily have to go to art school. So that degree is pretty important, and you don't want to dick around for a long time because those loans are going to add up, especially if you take longer than the minimum number of semesters or credits required to graduate. So anyway, in my case, one of the biggest pros obviously was getting a degree, both for the value or lack thereof of the degree, which in my current job, they were specifically looking for someone with an art-related degree for this position. I think they probably would have accepted me on portfolio and on the personal recommendation of someone I'd worked with in the past, even if I didn't have the degree, but I do think it is useful in some circumstances, and certainly if you're placed against someone competing for a position and you have a degree and they don't, or vice versa, the person with the degree is going to have an edge if you both have good portfolios and good connections, experience, etc. All things being equal, the degree counts for something because it means you put in the work, you put in the effort in order to get that, and that's useful knowledge for an employer to have when they're making a hiring decision. Is this person going to be reliable and put in the effort when it's needed? In a way, that degree is more of an endorsement of your work ethic and motivation, at least hopefully, depending on the school. But that's proof that you went through that trial and you stuck it out and finished the job. And finishing the job, especially finishing it by the deadline, is something really important when you're actually doing art commercially. So the art degree, whatever you get it in, is not just an endorsement of the skills you learned at the school, but also that you can finish stuff and that you can get stuff done by deadlines. I mean, hopefully you could be at the school for way longer. I don't know if they'd know that, but anyway, you finished it, and that's an important thing. So if you aren't sure that you're going to want to stick through it and finish, then my recommendation would be to take classes in something that you're interested in, like individual courses, a local community college or art center or something, and get a feel for it, see how much you like it. You know, the worst that it's going to be is you don't like it, but you learn something. And if you do like it and you take it seriously, you can help build your portfolio, get a better chance of getting into one of the more selective schools. NEIA would take just about anyone, which was kind of unfortunate too. But you're just going to be more prepared. You're going to be able to make better use of your time there because you'll already be developing the foundation skills, and you'll be able to hone those skills more. And especially if you have good teachers, they're going to be able to help you more if you already have some base understanding. Which is another point I'd like to make. If you're considering art school, try to be ready for it. Different schools will have different requirements. Some are more selective, and you'll need to have a polished portfolio to even get accepted. But in my case, NEIA was the school I actually wanted to go to because of the major they offered. but they were a for-profit school, so they're pretty much willing to take anybody, even people that really shouldn't have been there, and that's just unfair to those people because they really had no chance of getting a job with the skills they had at the time competing against these other people that are more advanced. They needed to work on foundation stuff to even have a shot at it. They're just very junior artists, and the school is basically exploiting them for money, and that's really unfair to them, and it's also unfair to the other people in the class, because then when these people who need more time to develop their skills graduate, if they graduate, or even if they drop out, it gives the school a bad rap, and people that come from that school will get the bad name the school has, because it'll become characterized as having crappy standards, turning out crappy artists, rather than judging everybody individually. But again, on a personal level, those people spent a lot of money to go to those same classes, but they weren't getting the same value because they weren't ready to learn more advanced stuff. The teachers there can teach them really basic stuff, but it's really wasting their time. They could be learning that on YouTube videos, especially this day and age, for free, rather than going to a dedicated art school to learn stuff they really should already know before getting there. You know, let the teachers teach that more advanced stuff, the more higher level techniques to people that are ready for them, and it'll be a better use of your time, and obviously better use of the teacher's time, and everybody's just gonna come out better in the end. So if you're thinking about art school, make sure you're prepared. Make sure you're ready to focus and be motivated to get through this, because otherwise you're just going to be spinning your wheels, spending a lot of money, and not really getting anywhere. You want to be able to get in, work hard, get out, so you don't rack up too much in loans if you have to take loans, so you don't waste too much time if it's something that turns out you're not interested in. And you want to have a good time while you're there, have fun, but you're there to work. This is going to be your career, whether you're looking to work somewhere specific or work on your own stuff. Make it count. You know, you can go fool around on your own time. Don't fool around when you're spending your money or spending someone else's money that you're going to have to pay off later on. This is probably true with a lot of things, but I think especially for art school, you're going to get back what you put into it. If you don't put in a lot of effort, I don't think you're going to realize a lot of value from it. But if you put in a lot of effort, regardless of the quality of the teachers, the school, the curriculum, you're going to get more back. Hopefully, all of those other things are quality too, and if you did your research in those areas, then hopefully you can have a good idea of what to expect as far as quality of the education. But my point really is the effort that you put in is a larger factor of a positive or negative experience than the school itself. At least hopefully. And that goes for non-art school classes, individual courses and whatnot. If you put in more effort, you're going to get more value back. I mean, even if it's not a course, just practicing on your own, that effort you put in is going to return more value to you than taking a course but not doing all the work, not really pushing yourself. So I think there's probably a lot more stuff I could say about my experience going to NEIA and being in art school, looking for work afterwards, and getting a job doing commercial art. But I think I'm going to end that here. If people have questions, if you found this interesting, if you have comments on your own experience going to school and breaking into a creative field and doing work related to the art major you went to school for or didn't go to school for, I'd be curious to hear your experiences and see what feedback you have. So please leave a comment, like, subscribe, whatever the hell you do on YouTube nowadays. So thanks for watching, and until next time.